Ahoy.
Ahoy, we're recording a podcast flag.
Oh, sorry.
Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. Today we have an old-fashioned lore-heavy episode, since we will be discussing the first two adventures. So that's both Shrouded Islands and Forts of the Forgotten. This time we don't have a new guest, but we don't need one since everyone's favorite co-host is back to help us out.
Yes, I'm back after a good 4-week break. It's AShinyRay, if you don't already know. I'm really pleased to be back on the podcast, and I bet you guys missed my velvety tones.
I certainly missed you, so that's good. It's also nice to get you on because you didn't make a video about the Shrouded Islands. So obviously I know your opinion, but it is not recorded, so I just pretend I don't know your opinion. And obviously, it's always nice to discuss the lore with AShinyRay. So let's crack on with the Shrouded Islands straight away. That's the first adventure we got. Before the adventure was there in the Sea of Thieves, we already saw some fog on multiple islands like Shipwreck Bay, Devil's Ridge, Crescent Isle, and of course Golden Sands. We started the adventure on Golden Sands. We find a compass there that leads us to Belle. Belle's a new character. When we arrive there, she asks us to investigate the fog even further, and to do that, we need to go to Shipwreck Bay. Once we are there, we light some beacons and we watch some memories of the Reapers setting up some sort of ritual. We complete that ritual. It summons a Soul Flame Captain. We defeat the Soul Flame Captain. We get a map from him leading to a hexing skull. We dig it up and we give it to Belle to complete the voyage. But then, oh no, it was all a trap. Flameheart wanted us to defeat the Soul Flame Captains. So the barrier between the Sea of the Damned and the Sea of Thieves became even thinner in certain places. And those places where it was weakest, those places were where the Sea Forts appeared to become permanent additions to the Sea of Thieves. So that's my quick overview of the first adventure. Did I miss anything, Ray?
You missed a big reveal, but we're going to discuss it anyway. But yeah, you covered everything.
All right. So before we discuss the lore, we haven't heard your opinion about this adventure. I'm, mildly optimistic about it. I guess you could say that. But do you like it? Do you like this adventure?
Yes and no. Overall, it was nice and atmospheric. It was nice to speak to Belle, but nothing much really happened. Although it is quite cool to say that that the whole thing was a trap. And that Flameheart was, yet again, for the third time in the row, he was one step ahead of us. So we need to stop meddling in his affairs, at least in things that seem to be obvious traps. Although that wasn't quite as obvious, to be fair.
Yeah, indeed. The one thing that stuck out to me in this adventure is that we already got, the big reveal of all the fog rolling in, and that kind of ruined the rest of the adventure. Like, they talked about it in the official podcast, saying that, oh, it was already nice, nothing was happening, and people were already investing in Golden Sands. And that was fun, but that might be even more fun than the actual adventure. So maybe they should have released it at the same time to make the impact a bit bigger. On the other hand, you could say, no, it's fun how they done it to, stretch it out a little bit and make us, warm, get us hyped for all the adventures to come.
Yeah, it seems that in the sort of, I'd say, technical limitations of setting up adventures, obviously they could just patch them in at the same time. But it seems, just a quick point on the second adventure as well, that people would have preferred if these new changes are implemented as the adventure releases. So it's like pop, it's fresh, rather than, oh, we've just done that, and then 2 weeks later we're going to go look at it again, even though, it's been like that for 2 weeks and it isn't a shock. So I'd like to see that change in the future, but that's by the by, really.
Are you ready to delve into the lore?
I am very ready. I can't wait to talk about this.
Okay, because the first thing I want to discuss is Belle, actually. People know by now, but before that adventure, she was not in the game at all, and boom, she is there, standing on Crescent Isle. So who is Belle?
So Belle is essentially a pirate that's 100, 200, 300 years old, a few hundred years, according to the developers. And she is a somewhat of an expert on the Sea of the Damned. We don't know why, we don't know how, but she's ventured there a lot. Um, then we come to the actual voyage, adventure, should I say. And we had the cinematic trailer where she's like, "Oh, don't worry, Ramsey, I'll handle this. Guys, we're going to send you over to inspect this weird fog that, as a Sea of the Damned expert, I know nothing about. I've never seen that in my life. You guys can figure out." And, Ramsey, I said I was going to sort this out. I've actually furthered Flameheart's plans, so I think it's time you step in, mate. No, but in all seriousness, I think we have I think you believe this theory as well. I think Belle is the female warrior that's mentioned in the Voyage of the Sunken Kingdom,
Mm.
featured in season 4. The specific female warrior that silenced the sirens before, forced them to slumber. It's a bit on the nose, Legend of the Deep, but I could be wrong. Some people disagree because they think that's her body in the thing, in the
Mm.
what would you call it, like a ritual chamber.
Yeah,
But
it's not though.
it's probably, it could be her body, but the way Belle behaves is she's almost like a revenant. Like the fact she magics the lantern out of midair, so
Yeah.
shows she has some sort of spiritual power, similar to the way Ramsey does things like that.
Mhm.
It remains to be seen, but are you in agreement that we think she's the Legend of the Deep from season 4?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no doubt at the moment. Also, it makes sense, right? Like to introduce this character through through the journals, and if you pay attention, um, and then actually introduce her with the next season. Like, it just makes sense.
Hmm. What intrigues me is that we had A Pirate's Life, and they introduced the sirens, and it was like, oh yeah, the sirens are there, but it's mainly about Jack Sparrow and Davy Jones. And then we move into season 4, and we get these. It's actually really meaty lore drop. I actually really like season 4. The only thing I didn't like was wasn't really replayable. Obviously, the treasuries are fine. Then we move into season 5. We get a bit of a break, and then at the end of season 5, we go straight into the Belle lore, and she
Hmm.
gets introduced. And she's someone that's been in images and promotional artwork since Alpha, since before, I want to say E3 2016, 2015, maybe. I'm not sure how long the statue's been around for. And it's quite on the nose that they're like, oh yeah, we've just done this Sunken Kingdom, and then we're going straight into Ancient and Belle lore, and it's a bit like, okay, I can sort of see the story converging now where it's all going to link together. It's not a coincidence. She's 99% the warrior that silenced the sirens, especially considering she's hundreds of years old.
Yeah, I feel the same way. The only thing I want to add to that is that she used to have a gameplay function in the early builds of the game, and she used to be the replacement for the mermaids. Like, there's a reason why she's on a buoy depicted. If you would lost your way, lost your ship, she would appear on a buoy, and you can interact with her, and she brought you back to the ship. But now we have mermaids for that, so interesting bit of tidbit for people who didn't know.
I don't know if this is a Mandela effect, but I do have an image of her sat in the Pirate Lord's chair. But I'm sure, and I could be like making this up, I'm sure there is a clip of her, like a panning shot of the Legend hideout with her sat in the corner where Legendary Luke is. Can you remember seeing a trailer like that or a bit of promotional
No,
work?
I know the picture you're talking about. She's definitely sitting in the chair of the Pirate Lord.
Hmm.
I believe I do remember that picture. It's a low quality picture. I don't know when it's taken, but it does exist. Yeah.
I'm sure there's a clip from like an interview or some sort of promotional work at E3 or something with a panning shot of her. I've never been able to find it. I could obviously poke around and see if I really wanted to, but I don't have time to go through all that footage.
I Anything you want to tell about Golden Sands or Bell before we move on to what's happening at Shipwreck Bay?
Now we'll move on to Shipwreck Bay.
All right. So when we arrive at Shipwreck Bay, we see memories of the Reaper ships, like they were there before. It's a little bit changed. Obviously, we have the fog, but we also see all these braziers that are being set up by the Reapers. And every time we light a brazier, we see a memory of the past Reapers, what they were doing there. So the thing I do want to address, and I think this is a perfect moment to address this, because some of the memories also see the Reapers walking with boxes. And we've lined up those symbols, and there are boxes of wondrous secrets. However, this is a mistake of the developers. It should be just Reaper's chests. So What do you think is in the Reaper's chest?
Junior, Flameheart Junior says something about our captains will live again. And it seems to imply he's talking about the Soul Flame captain. That they summon excuse me, that they summon in the adventure. It's really tough because of the mistake of the assets. So it's made things really confusing.
Mm,
Um, yeah, I don't really know what to make of them. It seems like the Reaper's chest have the bones of Flameheart's old allies, but also it also seems to imply that Soul Flame captains come from them. I don't know. I can't really make heads or tails. This is the thing that's really spun me out. I don't know how you feel on this. What's your thoughts?
Man, we think alike too much. Uh, this is weird because outside the podcast we have discussions and like you agree with something I don't, but during the podcast, no, stars are aligned. I think I feel the same. Like, yeah, obviously Reaper's chest. I've always felt, those are bones. We've even seen some pictures of them including bones, and it's always I thought, yeah, that those are past followers of Flameheart, and maybe they drink from the special liquid or a special cup or whatever, and they're back in the Reaper's Bone faction. Um, but soul flame captains, they don't have bones. They're a soul flame and trapped in a sort of metal body. So maybe like they can put up a metal rib cage out of it as well and enchant that in some way. But yeah, that was also confusing for me. Yeah.
Especially when you're considering we know what's in vaguely what's in a box of wondrous secrets. Obviously, Stitcher Jim stared into it and it drove him crazy. And yeah, like maybe some have the ability to create a soul flame captain in them, merge with a Reaper's bones chest. I don't know. I think, and I'll make this point really quickly. In some aspects of these adventures, they're bringing a lot of characters and concepts in, which make it very muddy. And as someone who's very lore focused, it's really hard to put this together. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like the
Mm,
story's getting quite complex for
yeah.
complex sake, rather than we having a direct route to here's Belle, here's Ramsey, in 10 adventures time, Flameheart's going to be back. And it's just going to go exactly as we expected. It's a bit confusing, especially for people who are just diving into the story now.
Yeah, like sometimes they explain stuff during their podcast or when Mike Chapman is invited on another podcast. Not ours, not yet.
Mike,
We're
get
working
on the
on
podcast. Come on, please, Mike. We need to talk
it.
about lore.
He'll be here next month. But that's on one hand that's just fun and it's nice and you need to be alert outside the game, but it's kind of bothersome that it's a bit confusing when you are just playing the game. And also they are very precise with the hints they give inside the game, very precise with the symbols they give to us. The runes never made mistakes before, except now they made the mistake with the boxes, which is surprising because I feel like they have an entire team making sure the lore is, makes sense. Even though it does feel like it's a bit too convoluted, bit too confusing this time.
Hmm.
Like we defeat the soul flames, but we have zero idea what the soul flame captains are and what they do. It's information we get afterwards when we ask questions to the developers, which should not really be the case. I feel like.
No, it's not a very consumable form of media when we have to get the man who writes the lore on a podcast or in an interview to get answers
I
about especially things that he can reveal as well. He's like, oh, actually, Flameheart was vegan. Yeah, but you wouldn't know that in the games. But we can reveal that to you because you specifically asked about it. Um,
uh,
it's not accessible, and I'd like to see that changed a bit. Maybe it will be in adventures and will be a bit more clear cut. But yeah, I like the speculation in general, but it can be annoying equally, especially when we should be able to get easy answers about stuff that's already in the
yeah.
game.
Yeah, definitely. Like, what's in the box? We should have that answer by now. It should be clear, no confusing about it at all.
Yeah.
And the same goes with the Soul Flame captains too, because I speak plural about them now. Because in the second adventure, I think Bell or Rina, can't remember, but they tell us like, hey, the forts are here because we killed the Soul Flame captains, and that's plural. But in the adventure, we only defeat one. So what's up with that?
I guess we only need to defeat one in the adventure, I guess.
I guess so. Like I feel I feel our crew defeated one, and then another crew also came along and defeated another. Ah, no, that doesn't make sense.
Canonically, when we go for the Tall Tales adventures, the random crew or the one in the trailer featuring like Nine Cat Noah and stuff, that's our crew, and it only happens once. So I think we just needed to defeat a Soul Flame captain for Flameheart to bring the forts through, because it's really hard to bake in the fact that millions of crews are taking part in these adventures, and how is Flameheart going to beat millions of 4-player crews or 2-player crews or what have you? It's
Yeah,
impossible. He can't win.
yeah, yeah. That's true. But sometimes you see something lore related, and it does talk about multiple crews doing a certain event, and that the consequences of multiple crews working together is this outcome. So that they have done it in the past, that
Hmm.
there are multiple crews responsible for continuing the story.
Yeah, it's again establishing a headcanon between us, isn't it? And I guess spreading it to people who listen to the podcast. I think
Mhm.
it's one. It could be more, but it makes sense just for it to be one. And in the realms of the rules they've set out in the explanation of what happened when we killed the Soulflame captain, it's fair enough to say it could just be one.
Yeah, that's true. Only why speak plural in the second adventure? Oh well, doesn't really matter all that much. The information I did find was on the costume set, by the way, where they talked about the Soulflame captain being a pirate legend. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I that's fine. I don't think that really conflicts. Pirate legend isn't something that Ramsey just deals out to people. A lot of the named pirates, based on the cosmetics we get in the season pass, good or bad, will be pirate legends. So Captain Grimm would be a pirate legend. Merrick would be. Flameheart himself would be one.
Well, I wouldn't go as far as to say Flameward is a pirate legend. Obviously Bell is a pirate legend before Ramsey came around. I wouldn't say Flameward is a pirate legend. No.
I would say so. He's
All
a
right.
legend. He's a pirate that's legendary, at least.
All right. Yeah, that's true. Well, I guess maybe he is a pirate legend. Yeah.
I would say he goes toe to toe with the pirate lord as far as legendary pirates go.
Does he turn in Athena loot to get his wrap up? That's the
No,
real
he's
question.
got that Athena commendation, hasn't he? Legends looted. He's got that at 1,000,000 or something.
Oh yeah, that's so. All right. So he can be a pirate legend. All right.
Hey, if you can get to 50 and that counts towards your pirate legend for Reaper's Bones, and the fact that Ramsey accepted the Dark Adventurer set, you know, he's sticking to his rules by accepting everyone.
All right, I guess so. Okay, but let's move on. Because we kind of veered away a little bit from the memories and went straight to the Soul Flame captains. Anything else about these memories you want to discuss?
The only big one we really need to focus on is the fact that Flameheart Jr. says, "My sword's always been yours, father." When he's speaking to one of those lanterns, that's obviously the big reveal in it. And if you didn't watch the teasers or whatever, you'd be like, "Oh, the Servant of the Flame is Flameheart Jr."
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
and it's nice to actually have the Servant of the Flame as an actual character now, which is good.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the gist of it. You don't really miss a whole lot of. Excuse me. You don't miss a whole lot other than that. That's the big reveal. It's the coolest
yeah.
memory, and there's not really much to say on it. We know Flameheart Jr. is a bad guy now.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Just wanted to say that we also see a memory of the Reaper spirits. I thought that was a nice touch, especially since they are also pets, and the only lore we got from before was the Reapers made these pets, and that's about it. But now we know they also use them to spy on people, and you can actually see them on Golden Sands and on Crescent Isle. So yeah, that was a nice touch.
It's interesting, actually, that those parrots, the fact they're spying on us, is to make sure we go through with killing the Soul Flame Captain.
Yeah.
It's actually a little clever note that I've only just picked up on now when you brought it up, the fact that they spy on us.
Hi.
Yeah, and it's a cool touch, especially when you see Flameheart Jr. like, "Be my eyes," as the parrot flies up on the rock.
Indeed. And now next time we see those parrots, we need to be on the lookout. You might be getting played again.
Yeah, that's true. What do I do if I put this chalice in Flameheart's remains? Do you think he's going to come back? Oh, there's a Reaper's parrot there. We probably should be doing this.
Aye, indeed. All right, so those are the memories. So those are the pets. We discussed the Soulflame captains. When we do defeat the Soulflame captain, he gives us a map to a hexing skull, and in one of those memories, we also see the Soulflame captain carrying that hexing skull. So what's up with the hexing skull? Why is that important?
It seems to be used to turn normal captains into Soulflame captains. Again, this isn't really explained. It's a good use of assets from Dark Relics. Dark Relics, that was the
Hmm.
one. I'm actually stumped for this one again. This is the most confusing tall tale / story beat we've had for a while, and I don't think that's on purpose. I think that was a bit of a mistake. No idea
Hmm.
what the Hexen skull really does. It's a what's the term? Is it Deus Ex Machina? Um,
Nah,
that
no, that's no.
a MacGuffin. Is it a MacGuffin?
A MacGuffin,
It's
maybe.
they're MacGuffins for Bell to decode what's actually going on, rather than using her foresight. Oh, hindsight's
Y-
2020. You know, that's
Yeah,
what they're for in the story, anyway.
we kind of need something to turn in. But actually, sorry, dark relics have been associated with weakening the veil between worlds, like it happened with the Fort of the Damned. I think all dark relics were needed to do that, to transform that fort. Uh, and I also feel that the dark relics they all serve different purposes. So a hexing skull can be related to, past memories because it's a skull. And we also see the enchantment vessel in the second adventure, and vessel is something where you put, something in, like a soul, like a vessel for a soul. So I feel that each dark relic has a different purpose as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because Jim used them to unbind Pendragon, didn't he? And he used the ship, and then the enchantment vessel,
Yes.
which actually I'll cover that when we get to the next adventure. So I'll leave that point for now. But interesting point about what that vessel
I
actually does.
Yes, indeed. We will discuss this on this podcast.
Yes,
Just,
so wait 10 minutes and you'll find out the answer. In the meantime,
I
let me tell you about our sponsor.
Raid Shadow Legend. No. What's the sponsor? I guess Athena Colada, right?
Athena Colada, the new book. Oh, spoilers. And this podcast is sponsored by Rare Ltd. It's not. That was a
Hi.
joke. All of it's a joke.
Hi. Um. Anyways, so that's the first adventure. Oh no, we turn in the skull at Belle, and suddenly she's like, "Oh, it's a trap. You all fallen for it. Um,
wait
come
till
back back."
wait till Ramsey hears what you've done. Hang on, this was your idea.
Aye, indeed. So that's, yeah, that's the adventure. Anything I missed? Anything you want to talk about before we go on?
Nah, in general, this is quite not uninteresting, but it's the least interesting. I much enjoyed the next one, as you'll find out. Um, trailer. What happened in the trailer? Did we miss anything? Oh, yeah, actually, we'll touch on the trailer quickly. Obviously, Belle's in the Tavern of... Is it Tavern
Hmm.
of the Damned, they called it
Yes.
in Pirate's Life? And Ramsey's in there as well. And the scene of Ramsey doing the old rousing speech, that's actually based on a piece of concept art. And you can see the art for the achievement for reaching Pirate Legend.
Mm.
Did you know that?
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your trivia is better than mine, mate, honestly. But yeah,
Well, you told me before, but it's fine.
you didn't have to say that. You're going to have to edit that bit out. But yeah,
That's fine.
I thought it was a neat little Easter egg, and I really like the intro where actually I'm ranting now, but quickly, the bit where the Pirate Lord's doing the speech at the start when the fog's rolling into Golden Sands,
Hmm.
that actually gave me like a bit of goosebumps, because it's like finally we're getting the story that we all want. And it's quite sad seeing Wanda and Shelley be snatched up by that fog. As much as I am an avid Flameheart supporter, I don't think they deserve that.
Mm. Your Reaper's bones with a heart.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get more onto complexity of characters later on, but we'll leave that for now.
I indeed. So yeah, let's crack on with the second adventure.
Cool.
Force of the Forgotten. Just like before, we go to Belle. She is in Golden Sands this time. She stands in front of a tavern. She tells us the inhabitants of Golden Sands are taken to the forts, and we need to rescue them. And we do. We go from seafort to seafort, rescue all the prisoners. We discovered that it was mainly a way to pressure Wanda in becoming the new Warsmith. We also find an enchantment vessel that we need to bring back to Belle. That enchantment vessel is also in the middle of, some sort of ritual, which we certainly talk about. When we do turn everything in and complete all the objectives, she gets a bigger picture again. I don't know how that revelation happened, but she's like, "Oh, I know what Flameheart is actually doing." Thanks to you guys. She starts suspecting Flameheart of trying to find the Veil of the Ancients, and we might need the help of a certain hunter to find the Pale Beast. Dot dot dot. And we'll certainly find out in the third adventure. So, yet again, do you like this adventure, The Forts of the Forgotten?
Yeah, I actually do like this adventure. Apart from the RNG, that's another thing. But I was really skeptical about the forts before they came out.
I know.
Yeah, we had a discussion on that, didn't we? And the forts
Uh-huh.
came out to retail, and I love the forts. So I guess they my fucking words, didn't they? And this adventure taking place in the forts and actually incentivizing going to multiple ones. I don't know. I liked it. I like the lore drops, and I like the trailer a lot more than the adventure. I think I can.
Mm.
I think everyone says that. Again, yeah, I like this adventure. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I like it a lot as well, and I said in my review as well. From a gameplay perspective, it's just the same as doing a fort, only we get one extra key. But from a story perspective, I really felt involved in the lore and the ongoing story with this adventure. So that's certainly a good thing. And again, it helps. The trailer helps a lot. Like those cinematic trailers, like I think they're quite expensive to do, right? So we got them in the beginning for each update, and then they kind of disappeared, and now we're getting them again. And I think that might be one of the best things of these adventures. It gets people invested. Also, you get a sense of personality as well. Because those ghosts, those Spanish ghosts from those trailers, those are just not random. Those are the ghosts you actually defeat when you're doing the forts. So I'm killing somebody that's not just an NPC, but somebody that has a personality as well. So I know the trailer helps with that. Yeah.
The trailer is good to contextualize the fact the phantoms are somewhat sentient as well. Or at least the
Mm,
jailer and the other bloke is the officer. It's funny because phantoms are somewhat they're memories, aren't they? Um,
yes.
and some are memories, and some, in the case of Blackheart Briar, know they're phantoms and sort of gain their free will back. It seems the Spanish actually are like Blackheart Briar and have made a deal with Flameheart. What that is, we don't know. Um, but yeah, it's good to confirm that for a trailer, rather than, oh, these are just phantoms. Like we see the lifeless ones we see as sort of random encounters in a pirate's life and just on a random island, so to speak.
I indeed. So those phantoms, they are Spanish. So what do you think the Spanish are doing in the Sea of Thieves?
I don't want to go off on a tangent again, but I think they came here before the Pirate Lord, and two reasons I think that. I think the fact that their bodies can be found in the two ancient shrines in the ancient isles, both of them, and those both, I believe, yeah, both of them would have been above sea level. And I guess they could swim down like us, but their clothing, their ships, and the fact they made it to those sanctums seems that they did it when they were easier to access, when they didn't have to deal with sirens.
Mm,
Because I can't see those captains or those explorers swimming down, avoiding sirens when they're awake, and making it in there. So I think there's a period of lost history before not Flameheart, sorry, Pirate Lord discovers the Sea of Thieves again. And the other thing is, Larina confirms that old. Old is a relative term because Larina's quite young. She's probably like 30, maybe absolute tops 40. But we think there's maybe tops 80 years from when Ramsey discovers the Sea of Thieves and when we arrive. Or I think that
yeah,
anyway.
and time also moves differently in the Sea of Thieves, right? So Lorena can appear 30, but in the real world she can be much and much older.
Yeah, it's implied until you get confirmation from the big man himself. He'll drop it in podcast 12 or something. I don't know. It's implied that that is a possibility. And Ramsey as well could be older because he's a ghost, so he won't age.
Yeah.
it's really hard to make heads or tails of the timeline without using specific markers, and obviously everything that happened after we arrived in March 2018.
I
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I always felt they were just like any other pirates, maybe deserters from the Spanish fleet trying to carve out their own fortune, going on a smaller galley. And they have these past memories of their past lives that get inflated by the Sea of the Damned, those memories, and those memories are being pulled by Flameheart. That's how I felt it might go.
yeah. The question we have now of the memories is, can they be accessed by anyone who knows of the memory, or do they have to be a person's memory? Because we know Barbosa and Blackheart Briar were Jack's memories, as he
Yeah.
was telling the story. They weren't anyone else's. And obviously, that's confirmed by the Tall Tale book and the fact we get flashbacks of Dead Man's Chest when the Kraken takes the Black Pearl under. So, are these Flameheart's memories? Are they Flameheart Jr.'s memories? How's he accessing them? And what has he promised them to make them do their bidding? And he sort of implies in the trailer that there's more than one way to lock someone in a cage. We know that you can bind people for eternity, etc., etc. Are they doing it so
Yes.
they can go home? Can Flameheart bring them back from the Sea of the Damned so they become mortal again? Because the ferryman can, and someone who's got mastery of the Sea of the Damned, such as Flameheart Senior, maybe he's promised them that if they do his bidding. Flameheart uses people as tools, but if you notice what we've seen of him, like the Chest of Rage, he hasn't done anything unnecessarily cruel. So when he's used the crew of the Black Witch for the Chest of Rage ritual to turn Stitch Jim, he says you can have the chest, but I really don't care about them now. I'm not going to leave them locked in there for the sake of it. He lets us take the chest, we leave, Pendragon saves them. Um,
I don't know. This sounds like Flamer propaganda to me.
it's hard to see this guy as the worst thing that's ever happened on the seas when we haven't really seen him do anything that much. Um, the most we get is David Jones say that he was obsessed with killing. Well, he's never killed anyone that we've seen or that we
Mm.
know of. Um, again, I'll leave it there because we'll talk about it a bit more later in the podcast. But it's interesting that he's promised something, and it's either do it and you get rewarded, or don't do it and you get bound for eternity. There's like two sort of paths you can choose. Like, what's the saying from Pablo Escobar? Blood or silver, or something like that. Lead or silver.
Ah, could be.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
So you take the bribe, you take the silver, and you live, or you don't take the bribe and we'll kill you. So you either get in the best of best or the worst of worst. Depends on what choice you want to make.
Huh. All right, interesting. The only thing I do want to add to that is that the Spanish have no idea who Wanda is and what's going on. They just listen to Flameheart. So I don't know. I thought that was interesting as well to mention.
Interesting, they don't know who they are, but somehow Wanda's figured out they're trying to capture an ancient, or they have an ancient prisoner. But the Spanish are
Uh,
like, I don't fucking know what we're doing. I just want to go home. This is just a day job
uh,
for me.
that's true. That's kind of interesting. Let's discuss that now since you mentioned it. So Wanda is one of the prisoners there, and she does overhear, her captives talking about Flameheart potentially capturing an ancient. So what do you make of that?
It's presented a bit like hearsay because he's not really listening, despite the fact of being like a pretty big piece of information. He's like, "Oh yeah, I don't care. I'm just locked in it with Shelley. Oh, I'm not really listening. I could give you information for saving me, but I don't really care. I just want to go back." Um, and how would you capture an ancient? Maybe they live in the Sea of the Damned, and Flameheart would be there, so you could do that. Um, but yeah, I
But
don't.
a soul, like there's a soul of an ancient could be trapped in some sort of vessel, and Flameheart's pulling it out and putting it in a new vessel and keeping that captive, something like that.
Possibly. Again, adding another layer to the story, but we probably don't really need that. It will pay off in the next few adventures, I imagine. But
Mm.
yeah, it's a really weird thing to do, especially when Madam Olga? She corroborates the story and says, "Oh yeah, he's got a prisoner that's even more ancient than me." It's a weird plot point. It makes sense, but where the story is going next, is it really necessary? I don't know. How do you feel?
Yeah, we'll see. Like I think they're actually talking about the Veil of the Ancients, and they just, like you said, overheard it wrong. Because that's all about the new voyages that are coming, and possibly the new adventure too. So that makes more sense to me that they just overheard it wrong.
Yeah, we'll find out. Especially actually when you contextualize it that way, we get the reveal that Flameheart's accessed the knowledge of the ancients somehow, not got an ancient prisoner, and Bell says he's after the veil of the ancients to move between worlds.
Yeah,
So I guess that sort of corrects. It's like a course correction to say, oh, he's not got an ancient prisoner, but he doesn't. He is looking for an artifact. I think.
I
I think that's the point
yeah
of it. Maybe
maybe yeah I can get behind that. Why do you think it's Wanda, by the way? Oh, well, we know the answer. We get this answer in the in the adventure because Wanda is captured because Claymore is pressuring her to become the new warsmith. So why does he need Wanda to be the warsmith? Why not take somebody who is actually willing to help him out?
to give Wanda with an a bit more a bit more layers and complexity, and sort of have her come back into the story. Because otherwise, Wanda with an O is an unimportant character. She's literally, from what I assume, she was put in there as got in Golden Sands as sort of semi joke. Oh, our parents aren't very intuitive naming us the same thing. Um, but then you raise another question, like Red Roof knows when she's not needed, you know? Oh, yeah, Flamer, I created the cursed cannonballs for you all that time ago, and now you don't want me anymore because I'm shit. Um, why
Oh
not use
yeah,
Red Roof? Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, because some people have been commenting on my videos like, "Oh, she wants Wanda not only because she's a weaponsmith, which would make sense because you want somebody who's knowledgeable about weapons to be your warsmith." But they were like, "Oh, maybe her sister also taught Wanda about the how to make cursed cannonballs," and that could be the case. I've never seen it in the lore before, but that could be the case. But why not have Red Roof doing it? So you bring up a good point with that. So yeah.
A lot of people say that Red Roof wasn't very good at it, and it seems that Wanda's perfected it. Um,
Oh yeah, maybe.
it's weird because she's got that knowledge from the canon of the Burning Blade, or whatever she's touched to cause that sort of influence to Flameheart. And that knowledge is then sort of esoteric in the sense that that's been passed on through his memory or his soul, whatever he's put into his influence in the Burning Blade. Um, and if he knows how to make them, one, why does he need a Warsmith, aka Wanda with an O, and or Wanda with an A if we're going to be pedantic as well? Just tell Red Roof how to do it properly. It's a really weird thing that's come out of nowhere. And again, why does Flameheart need cursed cannonballs? You think, oh shit, like I'm not going to be able to beat these guys if I don't have loads of ballast balls. Like he's got like the power of flame, and he's already done all this without cursed cannonballs.
I
It's
don't know.
just,
It
it's a
it does
sto-
give you an edge.
It's yeah, it does, but you can just find them in barrels. They're not hard to find, mate. Um, I think actually, being all serious now, I think two reasons is to bring Wanda with an A, the actual Warsmith, back into the fold, just to have her sort of step out of the Dark Brethren for a bit or whatever she's doing.
Yeah.
And secondly, it could be to do with locating the remains of the Burning Blade because she might have had that information from her sister, or they may have found it together, something like that. Flameheart's going to need his Burning Blade back.
Oh yeah. I
That's
haven't thought
something
about it.
that,
You think Wanda with an A already told him, right? That she has found the figurehead and stuff like that.
yeah, but maybe he needs a really good smith because you could have get Shelley to do that, actually, the shipwright, to put it back together. I think he's after the wrong woman, to be fair. Uh, he's going to want his Burning Blade back because that is a really powerful ship. Ramsay ran from it in fear before the ferry was a thing. You would run from that because even if Flameheart's not a skeleton at that point, if you come up against the Burning Blade and they sink you, you're going to die and you're not coming back. So
Yeah, maybe that point in the story, it could have been the only ship that had access to cursed cannonballs back then, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's like you don't want Thanos to get the Infinity Stones, do you? So imagine Flameheart retaining his power, coming back as a Skeleton Lord, which is obviously his most powerful form from what we can tell from Ramsey in the trailer.
Mm.
Then he gets his Infinity Stones of the Burning Blade back, and we know that ship has specific importance to him and the captain. Um, and that is a tool that you don't want roaming around the Sea of Thieves because even by itself, it's something you don't want to mess with.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So in conclusion, we both think that capturing Wanda has more to do with bringing Wanda back than it actually is about, Wanda herself.
Jesus, why did they commit to this name? You can tell they weren't planning on using Wanda with an O for the story until it's like, hang on,
Uh,
we've got our plot point right here, but we can't rename her. We've done it now, so let's just make it really confusing for anyone that's not reading the text on the screen.
aye, indeed. Oh well. So just glancing over the notes. Yeah, looking at the RNG prisoners, that's a bit annoying. We've done all the sea forts on our first time doing the adventure, and we still missed one, which was a bit of a shame. Like, why make them RNG then? I guess so people, for the short player experience, that you can only do one or two sea forts, and then the next day the other ones, and you kind of have to make it RNG to give some, the opportunity to encounter new people in the same short session. So I think they done it that way. That was the reason. But I think they were better off, making it fixed per C4. Then people can always do. Oh, I haven't done that one for the adventure. I'll do that one next in my next play session.
Yeah,
Guessing you feel the same about that.
yeah, I agree. It took me 12 thoughts to get Emily, um, and I only got that because UK and some other people were playing or doing their adventure, and they literally had them as I jumped in a chat with them, and then we swapped out quickly. And then you got yours because I jumped on to have Emily by chance, and then you hopped on and got it.
Yes.
Yeah, they could have done Wanda plus two plus two plus two, and I think that would have covered everyone. Um, I think that would have been more replayable because you're like, oh, I have to go all the way to Traitor's Fate Fortress.
Yeah, and you
Um,
do all the forts too in the
yeah, and you can
adventure.
just do a
Yeah.
big loop, and it one you get the loot, two you get to see all the forts, and three you don't have to faff around doing 12 forts like I did.
Yeah, totally agree. And something else that's also interesting about Emily, she's non-binary. Because on the list there, I think it's with I think it's the deeds where it says that she
Them or they them.
them they them about Emily. So if you didn't know that, you know now she's non-binary. I say she,
I
they
said
are
she.
non-binary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, like you wouldn't. I guess you could notice that if you went and saw Emily in the Pirate Emporium, because they're obviously non-binary, but to have it confirmed in actual text, it shows that the directors, the developers, have obviously had that plan for a while, and they
Hmm.
obviously made a conscious effort to put that detail in the actual deeds as well.
Yeah. Just some interesting information for those who paid attention. Um, let's see. Oh, let's talk about ritual now. Because in the cell, we see the shaman vessel in the middle, some circles around that, and three people. Now, I think it's a way to blackmail those prisoners, like do what we say, pressure Wanda in obliging with my demands, and in return, we don't put your soul in this enchantment vessel. That's how I read it.
I have a different angle actually.
I know.
Yeah, I know. So with the enchantment vessel, it's on the table in Seabound Soul in the Black Witch. I think the enchantment vessel is a way to get souls out of the Sea of the Damned, or at least out of binding. So fog rolls in on Golden Sands, it binds people to something, or abducts them, puts them in the Sea of the Damned. Hence why they're not there for like 4 weeks in those jails or 2 weeks or whatever they were. And then
Mhm.
that vessel with a ritual on the floor brings them out and into the cells. That would explain why it took them so long to sail to the fort when there's one right next to the Golden Sands.
You don't like my theory about them setting circles in the Isle of Wight?
That was my favorite theory, and then I realized that
Well,
oh, the
if it
animation.
thank you. Well, if it's like you said, that would be an explanation for that, right?
Yeah, especially with the fact that Jim used it to take Pendragon out of the painting before. Again, we're leaving this to speculation. It'd also explain the fog sucking people up rather than. It's weird because there's signs of battle for Golden
Yes.
Sands, so I assume the fog and Reapers attacked at the same time.
Maybe. Also thought it was interesting that they put up the flag of the ancient isles, like, forming a, like some sort of army, like a unification of the people there fighting against somebody else.
Yeah, and it ties in with Call of the Bells really well.
Yes.
We built a home, ours to uphold, I think the lyrics are. Really good tease from Rare there from a Christmas song. Hopefully we can have more in the future. But yeah,
I
with the that's what I think the vessel's for anyway.
Okay, right. So we think differently, but not all that differently. We think they're attached to souls,
Hmm.
for sure. So another mystery that doesn't have anything to do with the adventure, but I do want to ask is, what's up with those paintings? Because some paintings show depictions of outposts, I believe, but a lot of the paintings in the forts are just blank. And Rare has put attention to that. I think they tweeted it out and also made a community post.
Hmm.
So what's up with those blank paintings? Do you think?
Painting confirmed in season 7.
Well, there you go.
I know, I do think they are going to do something with the canvases because why would you leave them blank?
So you have no speculation.
No, that's what my speculation is. Probably not season
Uh,
7, maybe 8 or 9 based on a roadmap, but I think we're going to be able to place paintings on there. Maybe on our ships, who knows? It's interesting they left them blank because weren't they actual paintings before and they got changed?
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I actually was wrong on that.
Uh,
Because Logan also tried it out with his with one of the spyglass. Looking at it didn't work at all. Just got red tinted. That's it. But so from their appearance, if I'm correctly, some were of outposts, but most of them were blank.
you
Yeah.
see. The only other thing I can think of is when the one of the jailers said there's more than one way to lock someone in the cage. Maybe
Hmm.
they were threatened with being bound to those paintings.
Oh, that could be.
That's the
Oh
only
yeah,
that's the only thing I can think of. It's quite vague, but we know Pendragon was bound to a painting, um,
that's true.
painting of himself. But imagine they like hire an artist to commission this lovely picture of these Spanish jailers, and then you get bound in there, and it glows with your
Oh.
eyes for eternity.
Huh. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Either way, it's something that is not solved yet, but it's also something that's kind of separate from this adventure. So if those paintings change, it could be interesting. So Rare wants us to keep an eye on it, and I recommend the listeners to do the same.
Sea of Teas.
I indeed. So anything else we wanted to do this about this adventure before we go to the speculation for the next adventure?
Nah, oh, hang on. Oh no, no, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I'm happy to move on.
All right.
I just read the script wrong there.
Because at the end of this adventure, we turn in the vessel back at Belle, and she says, "Oh, Flameward is after the Veil of the Ancients." I still don't really know how she got to that conclusion, but anyway, she does. And to find the Veil of the Ancients, we might need the help of a certain hunter to find the Pale Beast, which is obviously Merrick and obviously the Shrouded Ghost. So, what help will Merrick give? And what role will the Shrouded Ghost play?
Merrick has a speciality in summoning megalodons. So, who else are you going to ask to find the elusive Shrouded Ghost? And as of the role the Shrouded Ghost plays, we had it confirmed in the third Flame Art teaser, um, where the Veil of the Ancients is in a belly of gold passing between worlds. And we both speculated, I believe, we were thinking about the Gold Hoarder's throne room, where
Yeah.
this was a literal belly of gold where the Megalodon has eaten a lot of treasure, including the Veil of the Ancients. And it passes between worlds, which would explain why, you know, why it's so rare. Most of the time, it's not in the Sea of Thieves.
Aye, indeed. It's in the Sea of the Damned. Yeah. All right. That's pretty straightforward. I think most people will come to the same conclusions as we have.
I'm just happy Merrick's back in it. I honestly can't wait.
Aye, yeah, same. He's been there since the beginning, right? Since the very first update.
We better get his
Um.
jacket. I really want his jacket.
Oh yeah. We can have his back legs. There's a Shroud Ghost costume, and if you wear it, you have two back legs, just like Marek.
Oh, two
Um,
peg legs and two hooks.
All right. So that's a bit of a tease to the third adventure. Something else that was really interesting before we go to the messages and bottles. In the latest official podcast, the developer said that we will be able to choose what will happen to Golden Sands. So I kind of assumed that Golden Sands would get repaired again, since Bell said at the end of the second adventure, like, "Hey, all those prisoners you saved, they will find their way back to Golden Sands." because we were apparently too lazy to give them a ride. So I thought, oh, Golden Sands is going to be an outpost again, but apparently that decision is in our hands. Like we can, choose. So how do you feel about that?
I'm in two minds about this choice. So we obviously had the tease in the 2022 preview that we're going to have choices for these adventures. It's an obvious choice that isn't going to be difficult. Like, one, we need 6 outposts back because we're never going to get 6 ships on a server. Well, we probably won't anymore ever again. But everyone loves Golden Sands, so it's not like you've made a hard choice. Maybe like if you did it Plunder, you'd go halfway. But Golden Sands is the most popular outpost, and people are obviously going to save it. But on the other hand, like, how does that work with dev time? Is the lead time on adventures really short so they can adapt? Or is it so long that we won't see this change for another 9 months? I'm not sure how I feel about this specific choice. Is it going to have that much impact on the story? Or is it going to be a functional thing? Or, is there going to be scars of the battle there? Or even if we do put it back together, is there really a point to the history of that actually happen if it just goes back to normal?
Mm.
Weird choice. I understand it, but yeah, I don't
I know.
know. I don't know.
I
They need to justify to me why would I not save Golden Sands? Because again, even as an avid Flameheart supporter, why would I put a rod for my own back by getting rid of Golden Sands when it doesn't really benefit me? Other than if you do this AShinyRay, you're going to get the Skeleton Curse and the Flameheart jacket. Then I'll do it. But I'm still going to save it.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that makes sense. And you're right. Like obviously, people know what they get when they say we want it back to normal. Um, but we don't know what the other side is. Not yet. Could be just the same. Could be something worse.
I mean,
Um,
the only other way I could see it being is a staging ground for the Reapers, and it is an outpost, but it's just run by the Reapers, and the trading companies are like held there at ransom.
yeah, maybe, but that's gonna. Can you imagine that being your first outpost when you spawn in?
I don't know. Some people got dagger too, so it can't be that bad.
Yeah, I know. I think it's gonna be complicated story wise and lore wise if you do that, but I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. I did put up a poll asking people if they would save Golden Sands. Do you want to know the results?
Like 90 to 10% in favor of yes.
No, not that high. It's 3 out of 4 want to save it.
See, look, we need some complexity to this choice because Golden Sands is like one of the best outposts easily.
Indeed, and to make it clear, if I also want it to be saved. It was my first spawn, but I also want them to change it. Like like the tavern, the name of the tavern fell off, so might have a new one with a fresh coat of paint up there, or maybe the walkways have been damaged and scattered. Like make sure we see its new wood being used to fix it. Stuff like that. I do want some change like that if they're gonna bring it back to quote unquote normal.
Fair enough.
All right, so that's about it for the adventures. Well, I say that, but we still have message in the bottle to do. So let's do that. Message of a bottle is a segment of the podcast where our listeners can send in their own questions, and hey, we answer them. So if you want to send your own questions, you can join the Salty Hippo Discord. Link will be in the description. At least if you're watching it on YouTube. So let's go to the first question. That one comes from Uncle Albert123. He asks us, "What do you think the adventures will all lead up to, besides the obvious, probably defeating Flameheart?" Which I'm
It
gonna
doesn't.
tell you right now, it's not obvious at all.
He doesn't seem too confident when he says obvious. Probably. I'm sure it's
Mhm.
going to happen, but I'm not quite sure. It's a good question though. You take this one first. I want to hear your opinion.
Well, I'm gonna say what they said on the official podcast. They said we have 12 adventures a year, and they kind of bundled them together. That like we have mini arcs of 3 adventures. So this first set of adventures where we are in now is all about the weakening of the veil and how Flameheart is trying to do that. And that's this arc, and the next three sets will be something different. And obviously, all of them will lead up to hopefully something at the end. And I think the developers don't even know what the end is going to be, because the more the adventures, the more sorry, the further we are in the future, the more impact the players will have on the adventures. So it's unwritten uh, as of now. So I don't know. I think it's the future is unknown even for the developers. That's what I think.
I want to sort of agree with that, although I think maybe the first 6 or so are set in stone, and won't get these choices until later this year. And I think based on how season's dropping, based on the general plot and the pacing, and based on the book coming in August, I think we'll. So let me work this out. Sorry. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is end of season 5, and then season 6 has 3. So then season 7 starts, and we have 1, 2, 3. That'll be 6 adventures, and then yeah. So roughly when season 8 launches in September, we've had the book then, and I think season 6 sort of last adventure, and I'm making a bold prediction here. Flameheart will be back. He'll be in his physical form, and then our choices start, because then we've got the 2 main players in physical form ready to go at each other's throats. And that's when we get our choices. Reason I say that is we're building up to Flameheart's return. I think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to stop, because imagine like we've been built up to him for like 3 years now, even longer if you count like the book that came out at launch. And it's like, oh, players prevented it, and that would be a really shit ending to an arc that, oh, he never really came back, and now we're going to have to think what we're going to do with the story now. He's coming back for sure. Could be defeated in a few years' time, or like a year's time or something. Again, I don't think that's going to happen. And when we get to these sort of sick adventure, we've got the book, we've got complexity, there's going to be some layers to his character, and then it's going to make things hard to choose between players, and it's going to see who matches up with your morality and who's right, who's wrong, etc.
Mm, yeah.
Then,
And we
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we also have the captain to think about as well, right?
So,
So we s
yeah, sorry, no, go ahead.
yeah, Uncle Albert is saying, like, the end goal is defeating Flameheart, but it could be, defeating the captain as well. That could also be the end goal.
It depends. Would you consider Captain Flameheart the big bad or the captain? You personally?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. At the moment, Flameheart, because we're meant to feel Flameheart is the big bad, but we also know there's a character behind the scenes influencing the influencers, and
Hmm.
that person is Captain, and could be the final boss.
I think,
And it would make sense, like, if we side with Flameheart or if we side with the Pirate Lord, the Captain could still be the final boss for both factions, right?
yeah, it also begs the question, is the captain turning things behind the scenes? Have we got an agent of the captain in play here that we don't really know yet? Obviously, anyone in Dark Brethren is under his command, but there could be someone we don't know, and they're staking the flames of war so he can come in and steamroll the other side. And what's interesting is that at the moment we're vehemently against Flameheart, at least through our adventures. Who is the captain who has a history with Flameheart? Who's he going to be more worried about having to come toe to toe with? You know, the
Mhm.
guy who's already mutinied him before and seemingly took his burning blade for his own. Who's he going to be more scared of, him or Ramsey? And I'm not saying Belle's a double agent, but it's kind of weird how she's pushing the story along a little bit, and she's like, "Oh no, I didn't know this was going to happen. See, the damned expert. Oh, had no idea about that. Obviously, not an expert, are you? No.
Mm.
Sort of speculation aside, Catman's going to be next year. I think that's what we're building up to. I would love to see this sort of climax where the Pirate Lord and Flameheart have to put their differences aside because the Catman's the ultimate evil, and I think he is, based on what we got in Dark Brethren and sort of the undertones of what he does to people and how he behaves.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I agree. And we also don't know how long these adventures will last. Like we now this year spent 12, and obviously next year too. But are they gonna do it forever? Like they've changed paths so many times. The developers for the better. Don't get me wrong, always for the better. I feel like, except adventure. Oh, sorry, arena. They could have put some more effort in that, but so we don't really know what if there's gonna be more change in the future as well.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll see. They tend to tip and turn. Um, Seasons is iffy. I like seasons, but I don't like them. But they're better than monthly updates for the most part, I think.
I think that off topic, I think they're doing a really good job with keeping players invested with the adventures and also splitting up the content in the seasons. They're doing a good job with that.
I do think, though, going off on a tangent quickly, I do think that this is an exception. I think season 7 is going to launch with all the content, and then we've got bigger adventures to keep us more interested. Because from what I can tell, the adventures are getting bigger in scale as we're going along. Because I'd argue Forts of
Yes.
Fortune, not Forts of Fortune, Forts of the Forgotten was bigger than Shrouded Islands, and I think the next one is going to be the biggest yet, coupled with what seemingly could be the Pyro Legend Voyage at the same time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, there's a team that's doing the adventures right now. They just started up, and they will get more experienced over time. And I feel the adventures are just gonna keep on growing. Like,
Hmm.
obviously, there will be some smaller adventures in there as well, but we will see some big ones too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Um, Next
Yeah.
question.
Next question comes from Firebird in the newest adventure video. So he's talking about the trailer. They had Wanda and another lady in a costume sailing to the fort, but when the adventure was released, there was nothing to do with them. So he doesn't pose it as a question, but I can tell what the question is. He's just disappointed that we didn't see Wanda. So what's up with that?
So, unfortunately for us, it seems like the story trailers, the cinematic ones, are adding scenes and context that like that they couldn't fit in the adventure, or couldn't feel like they could fit in a meaningful way. Um, but yeah, I do agree. It's disappointing that we didn't get any of that. Didn't even get a mention of Wanda or seemingly Amaranta, as everyone thinks it is, with the Sea Dogs as the second masked stranger. It's
Yeah,
weird, isn't it?
nothing.
Like, at least the first one sort of made sense and it references something that Mike Chapman said about Bell interrupting the Pirate Lord, but then it's like, oh, we didn't even see Flameheart Jr. or we didn't even see Wanda and the second Masked Stranger. It's weird. I hope it doesn't continue like that. Um, but then again, you can't really spoil the adventure, can you, if they're going to be dropping big plot twists? We'll see
Mm.
how the Shrouded Deep plays out with the trailer. Um,
Uh,
yeah, that's how I generally feel about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get the initial disappointment with it, because you get hyped and you don't get it. But bigger picture wise, I think it's a good thing because we know that those people are still characters that are involved with the things we do in these adventures, and that affects them as well. So that's nice to know, and I feel that when eventually they come into foreground again, we are reminded that in the past they were also paying attention to this. So, bigger picture, I think it's a good thing. Getting that hype disappointed like a week after, I know it's just a downside to it.
Yeah, I agree.
So the next question comes from Ewalsh. How do you think tall tales will be affected by adventures? How frequently do you think we'll get tall tales? And 6 months or a year from now, do you think it'd be weird to go from Lords of the Sea to a Flameheart tall tale with little context, as the current adventures would be gone?
It's taken the strain off them releasing them. At least I think that's how Rare's seeing them. But we also do need tall tales for these grand moments that really need to be in a tall tale that can be replayed. If we're ever going to get tall tales this year, it would be season 7, based on the timing with E3, and that would go hand in hand with the build of
E3?
adventures. Yeah.
What's that? E3? What is
Oh.
that?
I've got nothing left.
This for
Microsoft,
those, yeah,
yeah,
for those who don't know, there's no E3 this year.
bollocks, isn't it?
Not
Stupid.
even digitally, so that sucks.
So
Uh,
at least Microsoft will probably have a press conference in June. Um,
yes,
at least I imagine they will, and they'll probably be Sea of Thieves again, considering how a massive hit it was last year. It
yes.
was the best part of E3 for me, not going to lie,
I
especially because Halo Infinite looked a bit shit. Um,
yeah, it was the best part of E3 for me too. Like this 3 year or 4 year old game. That's the highlight of in E3.
to
Should
be
be all about new games, but no, it's this update. That's the biggest news.
in Sea of Thieves' defense, it is one of the biggest exclusives now, and it does really well. I think it should get Halo's funding now because Rare have produced a fantastic live service game that doesn't suck and doesn't suck money out of you. But yeah, sorry, back on topic. Tall Tales, I think we're going to get less of them because of adventures. Um, I don't think adventures are a replacement for Tall Tales because Tall Tales still serve a function. But I think Rare saw what happened with A Pirate's Life. They saw the story element of it, like people really like this, and then they saw, Tall Tales aren't very good for player retention because the player base is obviously decreased since post season 3. That's obviously a lot of new people coming in saying, "Oh, I really don't like this game because of PvP in it or something." I don't know. Um, but yeah, sorry, back to the question. 6 months or so. We don't even get them 6 months now. Maybe like 3 to 5 once a year, I think. That's the rate I would expect to see them.
That's really optimistic. I feel that Avengers are kind of a replacement for the Telltales. The only I don't see them really coming back. Even we're still waiting on what happened to Stitcher Jim. I feel we're gonna get that answer in an adventure, uh, probably this year. I don't really see them doing Telltales again. That, however, with one exception, if they're going to do another crossover, it could be with Disney, could be with another company. But I don't think Disney would agree with being those new Telltale assets. Sorry, those new adventures being only temporary in the game. I don't think they really want that. So they were going to use the Telltales again if they're going to do something. So that's how I see them coming back.
Yeah, I think we'll get a Pirates Life 2 in 2023, believe it or not. I think they're gonna tie the Catman story with it as they already have done,
Hmm.
which would suck. I'm not gonna lie. What I also think is that they didn't want to compromise on Flameheart's story and mix that with a pirate's life. I
Yeah.
think that was a bit of conflict of interest where Disney might have been like, "Oh yeah, add Flameheart in, and we'll get him bossed around by Davy Jones," and Rare were probably like, "Yeah, we can't do that. People are going to hate that. So we'll just do something a bit different instead. We'll do the Gold Hoarder because he's already been defeated."
Yep. Yep. Okay,
I hope,
so I
I hope
hope
that
that
answers the question in a roundabout way.
I hope you're satisfied with that, Iwash. So let's go to the some other questions that have nothing to do with the adventures, but people post them anyways. Please give a reminder if you post questions that aren't related to the subject matter of the podcast, you do have a lesser chance of making it in. Just for your information. But anyways, let's go to those questions. The first one is from Renzi. He asks us, if you make a new voyage to do, what is it and how does it work?
Hmm. Not really prepared for this one based on the topic of the podcast. A new voyage. Can I cheat and say I'd like to see old voyages revamped?
Yeah, sure.
So
Can you,
sorry, go ahead. What were you going
yeah,
to
give
say?
an example. Give an
So, for
example.
example, when we got the new trading company voyages with Gold Hoarders, Merchant Alliance, and Order of Souls, they were all brand new. They're all better than the previous iterations. They're more profit, they're short, etc., etc., etc. A Shrouded Spoils type update where we revamp older content. So we bring the Gold Hoarder Voyage, the chest dig ones, up to scratch with the economy of the game where they reward you more. They're a bit shorter and they're more forgiving. So I would take those voyages, make fewer maps but denser, better chests, and higher chances of high value items like the Chest of Sorrows. Um, so that way you can incentivize choosing those old voyages. Merchant Alliance, again, cargo runs and animals. I'd up the rate of cargo you get from one person, and then you take it to another person, etc. And then animals, you're more likely to get the gold. What do you call it? It's the gold animals, and you can just take crates as many as you want, so you can stack them. And lastly, for Order of Souls, I'd make it so that Obviously, the crews you fight are always 4. They're more likely to drop villainous skulls. And the last voyage has a chance of spawning a skeleton lord, which will drop another skull for you. That way, we're going back to old content and you have more variety in your companies. Obviously, for veteran players like us, we're not going to play them, or unless they are really lucrative for us gold wise. But for new players, it's not going to be a case of getting to level 25 and then just grinding out the new voyages because they're more lucrative. And, I don't like the whole creep of the economy where the old stuff is becoming obsolete because the new stuff's being superseded. And it's easier to rebalance old content than make brand new stuff while still making your game more full and in depth. I don't know how you feel about that as an idea.
Yeah, no, sounds good.
Cool. What did you think? What's your idea for a new voyage?
Well, my mind always goes to the Hunter's Call because they don't really have voyages. So I was thinking of making us hunt certain animals, like new animals, like boars or something like that. So that animals that fight back. We get a map from Merrick or whoever. Go to the island to kill those new types of animals. But with the meat they give us, that's a new item, not consumable, but an item to lure sea creatures. And then we go to a special point to the map, put everything in a cage or something like that, to lure a sea serpent or something like that. And then we defeat that and turn their treasures in at the Hunter's Call. Could be a tooth or something like that, and that's new voyage.
I would love that idea. Hunter's Call could use a revamp. Fishing's okay. It's relaxing but tedious.
Yeah,
Um,
it needs something exciting.
Hopefully they don't remove it like Arena when the going gets tough. uh,
We'll see. See, I don't hate the Hunter's Call at all. I like fishing. I like turning it in the Hunter's Call. They just need a little bit extra.
my progression was mostly from letters, and mermaid gems and the odd
All right.
stormfish.
Yeah, all right. Um, let's see. Oh yeah, next question comes from Frog Monster. How would you feel about the hit scan system being implemented into Sea of Thieves?
The Eye of Reach will be the best gun in the game, probably even more so than it is now. And imagine just getting clapped in a sorry, not boarding action, in a naval combat by 2 people with eye of reaches just shooting you because they can track you so much easier. If it fixes hit reg, it might be okay, but I don't want to hear anyone complain about the sword anymore because the sword will sort of go down in probably the worst weapon in the game then if you can clap people with an Eye of Reach or a flintlock just, willy-nilly across the map. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be a weird system. I like projectiles, but if projectiles are the cause of hit reg, then it might be better just to have the hit scan system in place.
Yeah, something reliable has always got the preference for me. The only thing I do want them to do is make it so Xbox players have a little bit of aim assist. I think
Yeah,
that's only fair.
for anyone who just plays on mouse and keyboard and never picked up a controller in Sea of Thieves, unlike other first-person shooters, there's no aim assist or bullet magnetism or auto aim, if you want to call it that. If you use that term, you're ignorant. Um, there's none of that at all. So, like, aiming guns is really difficult. I mean, you get used to it because you put so many hours in Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
And if you have an elite controller, it's a bit easier. But honestly, like, no aim assist is quite difficult. Especially in close quarters, I think, because you've got less time to line up your shot. But if that was implemented anyway, Blubber, you'd have PC players complaining about auto aim and aim assist if we had it, so they probably wouldn't add that.
Well, I don't know. I've watched a documentary about competitive first-person shooters, and there are I can't remember the exact games anymore, but there are players playing competitively, and some players play on Xbox controllers, and both parties, even the PC players, agree that they should have aim assist. The thing they can't agree on is how much aim assist should there be.
Hmm,
And I think that's a wonderful opportunity for the insiders to test out.
true. I can see the complaining now. I've seen it in other games with little aim assist. I've seen it in other
No.
games with strong aim assist. But I absolutely think they'd be complaining.
Yeah, well, the people always complain.
Oh yeah, there's this game. I'm guilty of moaning, but there's a lot of fucking complainers about Sea of Thieves. Honestly.
I
uh,
that was actually also the last question. So we only have one more topic left, and that's something you wanted to address.
Yeah, it's a
So go
brief
ahead.
topic. I'm sure our listeners have heard the news. So, the second official Sea of Thieves novel, prequel novel, The Heart of Fire, is set for release later this year. And Rare tweeted about it, said more details coming soon, and it looks like retailers sort of let the cat out of the bag with a synopsis and a release date. So the provisional release date, I'm going to say that now because they can always move it around. Titan books are a bit iffy when it comes to hitting those initial release dates. Maybe we're fine now. COVID's sort of in the past. 16th of August 2022 is planned. And that would sort of line up with just before season 8 in September. And there is a brief synopsis. I'll get Blubber to put the link in the description to the Amazon listing because it's not on Rare's socials or anything like that. Essentially, we're going to be following Captain Flameheart, Captain Flameheart Sr., that is, into his rise, his fall, and his eventual death, I suppose. And it seems like it's going to be told from two perspectives, Flameheart himself and the Pirate Lord, so we'll get more Pirate Lord lore. Not sure how I feel about that, him taking the limelight in the best character in the game story, but no, the Pirate Lord will be teaming up with the Morning Star to hunt for an artifact that will put Flameheart to rest for all eternity. And on Flameheart's end, he will offer a ragtag crew, which I think will be the Ashen Lords, an opportunity to uphold and upheave the upheave the status quo of the Sea of Thieves. So yeah, you can pre-order it now. This isn't a sponsor. I'm just telling you, you probably want to read this book. It's going to be really good. Chris Alcock writes it, who also wrote Athena's Fortune, which is a fantastic novel. Quite light reading. So if you're not into books that much, quite a short book, and it's not a too challenging read, but it does add a lot of context. We're going to get loads more in this book. And most importantly is as the year of Flameheart's story, it seems they're going to add some layers to him. And I think there's probably going to be a big twist that you probably want to know if we're going to be start making adventure choices anyway. They didn't really do this with the Gold Hoard, even though he has depth, but when a villain is getting a book, there's a reason for it. So we'll see what happens. That's all I really wanted to talk about, really.
Yeah.
That pretty much covers it. So fingers crossed it does come out in August. Hopefully it's not delayed. And I am very hyped, to say the least, though. I'll be doing a review. I don't know if Blubber will, but I'm going to be covering a lot of lore. And I imagine we're going to have a podcast about it as well, aren't we?
Yeah, we definitely are. I'm not sure if I'll do a review. Maybe if the mood strikes me, but we'll definitely have at least one podcast episode about it. Probably two. I've done it before with the other book, the other novel, and there's a lot to discuss always. So maybe we'll have two podcasts, but we'll see. I'm excited either way for the book.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be like 6 hours like the Athena's Fortune one, or whatever it turned out to be.
I don't want to go back to that place in my mind right now. It was hellish to record that, but oh well. What I do want to say is that you really should read the books. It's not only a great experience, but it also enhances the game in a big way. So with this announcement, we also have come to the end of the podcast. So I want to thank it's the honor guest in the script, but you're not a guest. You're my honor co-host. So thanks for being there, co-host. And can you tell our listeners where they can find your content?
Yeah, you can find me at AShinyRay on YouTube and just type it in the search bar. You should be able to find me. And after my long break, I'm looking to go back to 2 videos a week now. So yeah, have a look. There's something for everyone, lore, discussions, etc., etc. You guys know me.
Yeah, exciting stuff. I especially like the last 2 videos. So if you want good content, go to AShinyRay. Or if you want even better content, you can subscribe to Captain Blubber. Just type in Captain Blubber and you will also find me on YouTube. Don't forget that this podcast is also on Spotify. So if you want to listen to us while driving to work or staring into your ceiling, you can. So make sure you give this podcast a thumbs up. That's always appreciated. And let us know how you feel about these adventures in the comments, please do. So that's it. Thanks again. Drink some grog, do something daring, and have an amazing day.
Take care, everyone.